Hello, and welcome to the Art of Being Human. Now that we have finished with the defense mechanisms, and I've gone through all of them, I want to start talking about personality. And personality is kind of a fun thing to study. We're always trying to understand personality. We're trying to understand each other. We're trying to deal with each other. And who is this person like? And what is this person like? And how can I be friends with them? Or do I want to be friends with them? I have people all the time on Facebook that are asking to be friends with me. Some of them, I don't know even who they are. Do I want them as friends? What about them? Do they have characteristics that I would want to share my life with if I put anything on Facebook? I'm very careful. I don't post things on Facebook, although I'm thinking about starting to do that. So at any rate, it's a fascinating thing to study. I want to read you something here. It gets complicated, but I want to read you something I picked up from the internet, and this is what it says. It will be confusing when I read it, but there's a reason I want to read it. If people who do not understand each other at least understand that they do not understand each other, then they understand each other better than when, not understanding each other, they do not even understand that they do not understand each other. Is that a little confusing? I want to read it again. I think it's funny. If people who do not understand each other at least understand that they do not understand each other, then they understand each other better than when, not understanding each other, they do not even understand that they do not understand each other. What does it mean? If you understand that you do not understand somebody, then at least you know more about yourself than if you think you understand them, but you really don't. How much about people do we really understand anything, anyway? I'm going to start talking about personality. There's a couple of other things I want to read that I got from the internet. Don't change so people will like you. Be yourself, and the right people will love you. You know, we kind of fall into relationships. And the other one I want to read, a smile is a sign of joy. A hug is a sign of happiness. And a friend like me, well, that's just a sign of good taste. So now that I've gone through that, what is personality? The personality is total you, everything about you. Everything that you're involved with, every way that you respond, your personality is you in total, the sum of all of you. And what does that include? Well, it includes a lot. It is all of your characteristics, how you look, how you dress, how you talk, what you like, what you don't like, your beliefs, how you react to others, how you view yourselves, the characteristics of your body, your height, your weight, your race, your abilities, your disabilities, both mental and physical disabilities. It includes everything. Part of your personality is that you'd rather wear white shoes instead of black shoes. Or part of your personality is the fact that you'd rather vote Democratic than Republican, or vice versa. You know, even your political views, your religious views, everything about you is a part of your personality. To understand somebody's personality, basically, you have to understand everything about them. And that means everything about them. So we don't actually get to understand people to the fullest extent. But if you have friends, then you do get to understand them a lot. And I think the thing is, we tend to fall into relationships. We meet somebody, we like them, we kind of click, and pretty soon we'll go having lunch with them, or we're inviting them over to our house for dinner or whatever, and we get so we like this person. Then sometimes we see people and we're not so sure we want to have anything to do with them. They bother us, and so therefore we stay away from them. Sometimes we don't even know the reasons why we click with some people and we don't click with others. Sometimes it's similarities. I'm going to click with somebody who feels a little like I do. I'm going to click with people who has the same religious perspective as I do, because we're on the same plane. Or the possibility is I may prefer to be friends with people who don't think like I do. I want to broaden my horizons. I want to be friends with everybody. So we don't really have such a full understanding of people. But if you can start out with the point that everybody is a total being, everybody includes everything about them. All personalities are personalities. There's no such thing as a person without a personality. What we tend to do when we're talking with people is say, oh, I like so-and-so, they've got a great personality. But what are they really saying? You know, their personality is whatever that is about them that attracts them, that people are attracted to. They consider that to be their personality. Well, somebody has a good sense of humor, or somebody has a lot of ability in artwork, or something like that, and we get attracted to them for that reason. But personality goes a lot deeper than that, and it has to do with our basic characteristics, and we have to do with our basic character. So it's the total sum of who we are, and everything is included in that. Now, there are various theories of personality that have been written up that supposedly help us to understand what other people are about, to understand their personalities, and also to understand our own personalities. As a general rule, I don't go along with many of these theories, and I'm going to take and discuss 2 or 3 of them with you, because I know people do think this way, and they do think they understand better by going by some of these traits that I'm going to talk to you about. But truthfully, we can't class people in various classes. You know, I like this person, I like people who are tall, I like people who are intelligent, I like people who are artistic, and we tend as people to class other people in groups. I don't like to do that. And I don't think it explains very much. I think people are so complicated that to try to class them in groups according to a theory is really not fair to them, and it's not fair to you too, because you would not want to be classed. I'm tall, so I'm nervous. I've got blonde hair, so I have a certain characteristic. I'm heavy set, so therefore I have a good disposition. You know, people make classifications of people all the time in terms of what they consider their traits to be. And people are just too complicated to be able to trust that. I know that I was supposed to go to a conference, and I didn't go, but I was supposed to go to a conference, and the main speaker of the conference took one of these theories and explained it and got people to try to peg themselves as to where they were in this theory. So yes, I'm this kind of a person, or yes, I'm that kind of a person. And I think it was based on body types. I'm tall and thin, so therefore I'm sensitive and I'm nervous. And some people thought it fit them pretty well, and they were excited about it, and there were tests they were doing on it, and they had a lot of fun with it. As I said, I didn't go to the conference, but I didn't know that's what was going to be discussed. But I'm lucky that I didn't go, I guess, because I would have stepped out of it. I would have said, no, I'm not going to this section. I would have gone to another section instead, and somebody would have asked me why. Why weren't you there? I would really have had to have told them that I don't believe in classifying people. I think that people are so complicated. 2 people can act the same for different reasons. 2 people can act differently for the same reasons. Life is complicated. People are complicated. And I think if we pay too much attention to these theories that classify people in groups according to whatever standard they have or whatever criteria they have, then you're missing out on human behavior. You're missing out on the totality of the human being. And so you kind of put them in a box, and you put yourself in a box at the same time. It's like taking an IQ test. I gave IQ tests, I've taken IQ tests. If I've given IQ tests, I usually don't want to tell the person what their IQ is. Because if I say you're 105, they peg themselves. Well, what's 105? It's really very, very normal. But then they think of themselves as being normal when maybe they have a lot of other talents that's not even tested by the IQ test, and therefore they're a lot better than what the test shows. But they peg themselves. Well, this is what I am, so this is what I can expect of myself, and I can't expect any more than that because I can't go beyond this measurement that I have. So I'm 120 IQ. That isn't my IQ. I'm just using it as an example. You know, I'm not going to tell you what my IQ is. But it's, supposing I say I'm 120 IQ, well, I should be able to go to college with that. Okay, so now I can go to college. I'm smart enough to go to college. But would I ever be able to be a doctor? I'm not sure. I'm thinking maybe I couldn't, because maybe 120 IQ is good for some kinds of curriculums in college, but to go through the chemistry and the physics and all of the things you have to go through to be a doctor, well, I don't know if I could do that. So therefore, I'm going to limit myself, and I'm only going to do what I think that my IQ allows me to do. So the danger of being able to put yourself, or thinking that you can put yourself in some kind of a category based upon a psychological test, means that usually you're limiting yourself, or you're limiting other people. I know when I've worked with people who, and I know this is politically incorrect, but I know when I've worked with people who are supposedly retarded, I hate to use that term because it's not politically correct, but people who have difficulties in their cognitive functioning, it's easy to peg them. Well, let's see, they've got a 79 IQ. They're going to be able to write their names. They're going to be able to do things with help. But are they going to be able to finish high school? Well, maybe not. Or you have these expectations of people. So you talk to somebody who says, yeah, my IQ is 165. Well, you should be able to do anything you want to. 165 is beyond brilliant. It's like genius level IQ. You should be able to do anything that you want with a genius level IQ. Then you can think about joining Mensa or something like that. So I know I'm spending a lot of time discussing this. I'm kind of talking off the top of my head. But what I'm trying to get across to you is there are different ways of classifying personalities, but don't get hung up on it. Don't get hung up on it, because you cannot really understand or classify a person according to type just on the basis of what you've learned or what you've read or what you've heard, because you may be putting them in a classification. You're putting them in a box, and you're thinking that they're only limited in terms of their ability to do whatever that box represents. Oh, you're 150 IQ, go to college. Oh, you're 110 IQ, you go through high school. You know, and that's the way it is. But the thing is, you also put yourself in a box. And I don't like to have anyone put themselves in a box. I've seen people who had a low IQ do brilliant artwork because they've got a segment of their brain that they can do it. I saw a lady, I used to work with people who were cognitively challenged at a school. It's a special school for people like that. And there was a lady who loved to do puzzles, and she could do puzzles of thousands of pieces, and she could get it together. She had a unique ability to do that, but she couldn't read. And she looked at me one day and she says, you know, these puzzles are so simple, any idiot can do them. Well, the problem is she had the IQ level of what you would consider to be very low, and yet she had the ability to do all of these puzzles. She was a savant. A savant has ability to do certain things in certain ways, but there's a lot of things they can't do. So we have to be careful not to judge what we can and we cannot do. So now I've talked to you about that. I just really don't want you to get hung up. There are various theories of personality, and I'm going to go over the first theory. It's a trait, called a trait theory. And you test it. The only way you can test it is to observe it. A trait, I need to define the term for you. It's a permanent pattern of behavior. We all have traits. and they're permanent within us. It's a part of us, you know. Some people have a trait where they're kind or they're loving. Some people have a trait where they're temporary and they're not kind and loving. So these traits have been put down in English language, and there are in the English language about 18,000 words that describe traits that are characteristics that human beings have. But usually these traits are paired up, like loving as excuse me, as compared to non-loving. So I'm just going to read them down. I'm going to talk about 12 primary traits, and what I'm going to do is discuss it in pairs, as one as opposed to another. It's like saying black as opposed to white. And so here we go. One trait is being easygoing and friendly. The opposite trait would be hostility and being suspicious. One trait could be intelligent and thoughtful. The opposite trait would be being foolish and slipshod. The next one would be being emotionally stable, and the opposite would be being evasive. Now, I want to mention there are other words. You can always say somebody is hostile, but you can always say they're angry, they have a temper, meaning about the same thing. So there are a lot of words that you can use in addition to the words that I'm using. I'm trying to use like 2 words to describe a trait, not just one, a main word and another word. But there are more than that you could add. So emotionally stable, and the opposite would be evasive. High-strung, and the opposite would be self-controlled. Headstrong and dominant, and the other would be submissive and sensitive. Cheerful and sociable. One would be, or the opposite would be unhappy and seclusive. One would be reliable and painstaking, and the other would be impulsive and irresponsible. Another would be friendly and trustful. Another would be suspicious and cynical. That would be the opposite. Sympathetic, it would be one. Another one would be hard-boiled and unemotional. Then you would have energetic, a trait of being energetic, but the opposite would be slow. Conscientiousness would be a good trait, and impulsiveness would be the opposite. Adventurous would be another trait, and the other opposite to it would be withdrawn. So when you are talking about a trait theory, you're talking about characteristics that people have. They're traits that people have that's innate within them. It's a part of their personality. And according to this theory, you judge people according to those traits. So I'm just going to read this down because I'm getting toward the end of time here. Easygoing, friendly, intelligent, thoughtful, emotionally stable, high-strung, headstrong, dominant, cheerful, sociable, reliable, painstaking, friendly, trustful, sympathetic, energetic, conscientious, and adventurous. And the opposite, which are also traits, would be hostile, suspicious, foolish, slipshod, evasive, self-controlled, submissive, sensitive, unhappy, seclusive, impulsive, irresponsible, suspicious, cynical, hard-boiled, unemotional, slow, impulsive, and withdrawn. Now, just a list of these, I paired one with the other, that you've got a whole lot of characteristics, and these characteristics can be in any human being. So how do you make a decision? Where does a person fit? Well, if you see them friendly most of the time, helpful, cheerful, then you want to put them in a little block of it being a positive. If you see them hostile, unemotional, angry, suspicious, then you put them in another little block. But I'm saying that it's possible for a person to have all of those characteristics, and that you shouldn't put them in a block at all. But this is what the trait theory does. It takes traits of human beings, the positive traits, and the opposite traits which aren't so positive, and it kind of pairs them together, and you understand people in terms of the traits that they have. Now, I do agree. I mean, there's no testing to test this out, but I do agree that you tend to go along with some traits of some people. You tend to be attracted to them. You tend to be repulsed by other traits, and so you tend to learn to be friendly and have friends of people who have the traits that you like to see people have, basically positive. positive ones. So, but I don't think that we should classify people according to this. There are certain theories in which you classify people according to this. And you could, if you classify them, and I'm not going to do this for you, but if you classified them, you could say, well, so-and-so belongs here, or so-and-so belongs there, or I belong here, or I belong there, because after all, I have these traits. Now, we run into a problem when we classify human beings. A person, I myself, can be pretty cheerful most of the time. I'm not a person that's ugly, and I am cheerful most of the time, but there's no saying that I can't get cynical, especially about politics and about politicians. There's no saying I couldn't get very cynical about them. And I'm not mentioning any specific names, but we have these traits in common with each other. And you can have a positive trait, and you can have a trait that's not so positive existing in the same person. So how do you categorize? You know, I don't think you can categorize like some of these theories categorize. Now, I'm going to close it here. That's the trait theory. When we get in next time, I'm going to go into the introvert-extrovert theory, and I'm going to go into Sheldon's theory of body types. There is such a thing as body types, and we can categorize people according to what their body types are. Are they tall and thin? Are they short and heavy set? Are they somewhere in between? There are whole personalities based on that. Now, the reason that I'm bringing all of this up is the fact that we as people tend to categorize people, and so we tend to go and become interested and study these theories to see what applies to us and what applies to other people. So because people think this way, I do want to bring these theories up. Not all of them. There are a lot of them. But I do want to bring some of these theories up because people do think this way, and I want to just kind of touch base with them so you can kind of categorize yourself as to what you think, and also warn you not to get too hung up on it, because I don't get too hung up on it. I don't get hung up on much, actually. So I will let you go. It's about time that I let you go. I'm running out of time, and we'll continue with theories of personality next time. Please join me then.